Greetings and salutations. This is Derek with Taylor Whips, and welcome to this episode of Whipmaking Tips, the segment where I share information about my whipmaking process that will hopefully make your journey into whipmaking a little bit easier. Today I want to talk about cutting strands. Here I'm using paracord, which is cheap and readily available. I begin by pulling a large quantity of cord off of the spool that it comes on, and the neatest way that I found to do this is to grab the end and walk it across my living space. I do this because if I don't have some slack between the end of the cord and the spool, the end will be pulled off of the mark that I want it to be on. So piling it near where I will do my measuring and cutting saves me a lot of time and effort. In addition to the cord and my notes, I also use scissors, a lighter, some pliers, and a steel measuring tape. I run the cord down the measuring tape, which allows me to easily slide it to my desired mark. My normal pattern uses a 6-inch stagger in length between the ends of the strand. I will cut one half of the strand and then measure and cut the other half of the strand. I then strip the outer sheath back about a foot, tie a loop in the inner strands, and run the slack all the way down to the end, and then use a lighter to melt the ends slightly before I join the melted strands together with pliers, which keeps me from burning my fingers. My main reasons for cutting the strands this way are that I never lose the midpoint of a strand when I begin braiding, I don't have to do any additional marking on each strand, and gutting the cord is much easier this way. This approach works best if you intend to cut off the end of the whip, like a bullwhip or a snake whip. I don't recommend fusing the strands this way if you're making a stock whip or a performance hybrid whip because they will show up in the finished product. I hook the loop I made with the inner strands over some holder and I move it to one side. When I'm ready to cut all of the strands, I'll grab one of the knots and will work the outer sheath off by introducing some slack across the whole strand, which allows me to easily slide the outer sheath off without it binding up on the inner strands. I then hang this strand up and move on to the next one, repeating this process with all of the remaining strands. When all the strands have been gutted, I will take them and tie a knot where the melted joints are, and I'll roll everything up before I store it in a bag with some notes about what the build goes to, whether that's a core, a belly, or an overlay. The inner strands can be saved or disposed of depending on what your needs are. Using this method, I can make a large batch of whatever part of the build I'm working on in a very short time, and I can always be sure that my strands will stay organized until I need them. I hope that information was helpful to you. Let me know if you have any questions, and good luck on your whip making journey.